It hasn't even been 2 full weeks in a new year, and World War III is on the horizon. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. You're probably out here thinking, getting ready to type on the keyboard right now, that I'm out here fear mongering. And my response to that is, how am I fear mongering when shit like this is happening damn near every day? But no, I do not intend to fearmonger with my channel. I intend to inform, and I intend to let people know what's going on in the world. I may not be a journalist, I may not be a reporter, but I know what I am. I'm just a regular person trying to help other people out in one way or the other. With that being said, let's get into what has been going on. Not even on the first day of New Year's. It's been going on since last month as well. So the biggest thing I will say that's been somewhat covered, not entirely covered news-wise, would be the U.S. Nigeria on Christmas Day. According to Al Jazeera, the United States launched powerful airstrikes in Nigeria, claiming to be looking for ISIS. But in all actuality, they've just been hitting rural areas and rural towns. Specifically, one town by the name of Jabo in the Sokoto state of Nigeria. But with this being said, the people in Nigeria are like, who's ISIS? Why are you looking for ISIS? We don't know ISIS here. Do any of y'all know who ISIS is? We don't know ISIS. This is basically just another US ploy to distract us, saying that there's a quote unquote Christian going on. But if any of us have read a book, and I know there's not many, this is more than just Christians being harmed in Nigeria. Matter of fact, that's the whole cover up to what's really going on. The main reason why the US is attacking Nigeria this hard is because they have the largest oil supplies in Africa. And I know y'all are probably tired of me bringing up this website, but I don't care. I love me some graphs and I love me some charts. And this is the best chart to show for the rise of oil in Nigeria, because in 2000, it was not very many supplies of oil. I mean, there was a decent amount, but it wasn't a lot to shake a stick at. Now, and this was back in 2023, it's almost doubled, matter of fact, almost tripled the supply it was back in 2000. And that's just oil supply. And it's honestly no surprise that the US keeps attacking different places in Africa because of the supplies and the goods Africa has. The amount of gold that is in certain countries of Africa, the amount of diamonds that is in certain countries of Africa, the amount of cobalt and copper that is in certain countries of Africa. Africa is pretty much the major supplier of what all we have today, from our phones to soon to be oil if the US gets its way, to even the jewelry that we have. A majority of it comes from Africa if it isn't lab grown, which is why I tend to not wear a whole lot of jewelry, because I want it to be sourced ethically, and a lot of jewelry that's made is sourced on slave labor. So yeah. And another country that we have attacked and even taken the leader of that's high in oil would be Venezuela. Basically, 3 days into the new year, this administration has kidnapped the leader of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and plans to put him on trial. Now, this is another little tangent to try and distract us, to say that Venezuela is one of the highest, producers, when in all actuality, it is the largest oil producer in South America. If you want to talk about the main country that produces the most is not Venezuela. Matter of fact, it's not even in South America. It's in North America. Can you take a guess who? And even if Venezuela had the highest production of, who do you think is going to be in demand of such? Take a wild guess. But with Venezuela knowing that they have the amount of oil that they do have and how many countries will be desperate for such oil, some leaders have taken the initiative to basically try and hide how much oil they're producing. For example, the former president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, changed the terms back in 2007 to try and have other oil companies struggle to get Venezuelan oil, to jump through hoops in order to get the oil Venezuela was producing. Because at the time, they were producing around 200,000 barrels of oil per day. And some people thought Chavez of being greedy, but in my humble opinion, he was being cautious. And now the people that thought he was greedy are starting to see why he was being cautious. Because he knew somebody was going to try and do anything in their power to get how much oil they could get from Venezuela, bleeding it dry. Because if you look at it now, approximately 1 million barrels of oil are being produced in Venezuela per day. And it's not the good oil that looks ready to be processed. No, it's the heavy crude oil, the ones that you usually expect to see in a Dawn commercial covering the little baby ducks. And with refining crude oil like that, that leads to more air pollution, that leads to more water pollution. That is pretty much just bad for everybody if crude oil is the number one refined oil. It's just going to destroy the planet more and more. But these rich elites don't care. These politicians don't care. They just want oil to make themselves richer. And that's just a few human atrocities the US has done outside of the country. Inside of the country is a whole nother story. As you all have been made aware, on January 7th, this last Wednesday, Renee Nicole Good, a mother of 3, was gunned down by an ICE agent in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this was during a noise protest, which people just bring out pots and pans and whatever little noisemakers they can to just do a peaceful protest to basically get ICE out of their city. And Renee Good was not even part of the protest. She was just trying to find a way to drive around to get home to her child. An ICE agent by the name of Jonathan Ross confronted Renee Good as she was driving around, trying to drive around the protests. And she was just being, polite, saying, "It's okay, I'm not mad at you." And not even a second later, without a second thought, he pulled out his firearm and shot her 3 times in the face. He then called her a after he shot her. And as we know, that Renee Good's death is being broadcast along social media and media websites as well. However, there are many other ICE deaths that have not been circulated because they're people of color. Renee Good was a white woman. Now, another person that was by an ICE agent would be Keith Porter, and he was getting ready to ring in the new year in his Northridge, California apartment. So not only was his death not reported enough because he was a black man, but because it's alleged that he was partaking in one of the many traditions to ring in the new year of discharging a firearm into air, which is dangerous all in itself. And in some places in the US, discharging a firearm in the air is a felony charge. Needless to say, that does not make you judge, jury, and executioner if someone is just discharging a firearm in the air. Like, yes, they will have to face legal troubles, yet and still, they should not be for such a thing. And this is how the LA Times created the article for Keith Porter's death, which is sick in itself, in my humble opinion. Active, quote unquote, please be so for real. But like I said, there are more victims of ICE that are people of color, and they've mostly while in ICE custody. I'm going to read from freedomforimmigrants.org just a few names of the people that have passed away in ICE custody. Luis Gustavo Nunez Caceres, 42, from Honduras, passed away January 5th of 2025 while detained at the Joe Corley Detention Facility in Conroe, Texas. Nenko Staniv Ganchev, age 56, from Bulgaria, passed away December 15th of 2025 while detained in North Lake Correctional Facility in Baldwin, Michigan. Delvin Francisco Rodriguez, age 39, from Nicaragua, passed away December 14th, 2025, while detained at Adams County Correctional Center in Natchez, Mississippi. Jean Wilson Brutus, age 41, from Haiti, passed away December 12th while being detained in Delaney Hall Detention Facility in Newark, New Jersey. Shiraz Fatehali Sachiwani, age 48, from Pakistan, passed away December 6th of 2025 while being detained in Prairieland Detention Facility in Alvarado, Texas. And that's just a few names of a long list of people that have passed away while in ICE custody. So ICE has been taking lives of many people before Kevin Porter and Renee Good. They just weren't reported because they were people of color. And that's the sad part. These families are still mourning, but their loved ones aren't being mourned with them, if that makes sense. People aren't giving them much attention compared to Renee Good. Granted, her death was very tragic, but it's fair to have everyone remembered that have been victimized from ICE. But back to another country that the U.S. plans to colonize, for lack of a better term, would be Greenland. And we all know what it's for. Say it with me now. Oil. But the thing about Greenland is that it's basically protected by NATO. Now, who is NATO, you're asking? I'm going to tell you who NATO is. So NATO is a group of 32 countries, two of them which being from North America, that basically come together and make political decisions to benefit all members of the organization. Now, it was only 12 countries when it first formed April 4th of 1949. However, many countries have joined since then, the most recent being Sweden in 2024. So now it is the 32 countries that it makes up today. And with this administration wanting to try and take over Greenland, that is basically protected under NATO, that will make the U.S. public enemy number one. It's already public enemy number one, but it's with countries that people tend to care less about. Countries such as Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, and Niger, to name a few. But like I said, some people don't care if those countries hate us. But if these countries hate us, let me list off a few of these countries real quick. We have Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Hungary, Norway, Poland, Spain, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and Turkey, to name a few. Notice how I noted some of those countries that have a rather decent military. If this administration plans to go all out with trying to take over Greenland, I can assure you we are going to get our rocked. And to be completely honest with you, I'm not even going to be mad at it. To be completely honest, I'm not even going to be mad at it. At this point, with all this country has gone away with, I would not be surprised if the Nuremberg trials 2.0 started because of us. We'd be the first to be prosecuted. We would be the first on the chopping block. What that girl say? Death row! That'll be us. Needless to say, 2026 is already starting out on the wrong foot. And with all this going on, I just have a prediction that it's just not going to get any better. And that and I'm not saying we as in all of us, the black community, and I have a feeling that this country is going to be public enemy number one, and somebody, not in Africa, not in Asia, not even in Australia, it's going to be one of the European countries that says, you know what? This has gone too far. You need to sit down. That's my prediction. Now, I could be wrong. It might not happen this year. It might not even happen next year. But I get the feeling someone is going to do something and not just say something. That's just me. That's just me. Don't shoot the messenger. That's just me. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be sure to put the GoFundMe for Kevin Porter in and for Renee Good somewhere in the comments so that their families can have enough funding to basically give their loved one a proper send-off. If you guys like this video, then give us a like and share this along so that more people can not only see the GoFundMe in the comments, but also to, keep this going, like keep people informed. The more people that are informed and aware, then the less likely we will be subject to propaganda as a society. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you guys the next time I have a think piece. Take care now. And do pardon my dog huffing. He is very upset by the news as well. That's why he's huffing and puffing.